All right. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome. We are here to discuss the instant number one bestseller, American Heroes, authored by these two gentlemen here, James
Right.
Patterson and Matt Eversmann.
Right. We're three guys. We got a new hamburger stand instead of
Nice.
five guys. Three guys. Yeah.
Smash burgers. They're great. And just to remind everybody, you can go to americansignbook.com and you can get 15% off autographed editions today with the code American15. So just American written out and 15 at the end. But let's talk about this book, which immediately landed at number one nationally and is getting a lot of attention out there. It's been on TV. You guys have been going around the country, and
we have.
there's a lot of excitement
Friends
about this.
And Morning Joe and all sorts of good stuff, right, Matt? It was so much fun.
Yeah, Good Morning America too. We hit them
and now we're here. Good Morning America, 100%.
Yeah, just watch that one. That was great.
So before I forget, Ned, on Friday, Saturday, I guess it was, one of those days, we went up to West Point. And that was probably the highlight for me and for Matt as well. Matt, Army Ranger, all sorts of good stuff. He'll tell you a little bit about that. But for us to talk to the cadets and everything, it was really, really terrific. And it made me think about the notion that with this book, this is a book that I think a lot of adults, military family people, I think will just gobble this thing up. It's really a stunning, and we don't get the credit. These Medal of Honor winners, primarily what they are, various winners. But with these cadets, it reminded me that one of the things with this book is buy it and then maybe buy it for your kids or your who are in college or high school, whatever, because they need to read this because they don't understand sacrifice and duty. At least most of them don't, and they need to. They really need to. And even with these cadets, they haven't lived through this stuff yet. They haven't lived through combat. So that was a very cool thing. Sorry to interrupt, Ned, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was going to say next time we're together, I need to get your signatures on a couple copies because I've got it. I've got it for my two young 20-somethings as a little inspiration. So, West Point, I mean, it's such a cool place. And Jim, that's about 10 miles away from where you grew up. Is that right?
100%. Yeah. My grandfather used to deliver frozen food and ice cream to West Point. I would be there in the summer twice a week. I'd go with him and we'd go to West Point. They're very cool, man. Go to football games there. Their football team is very good this year for some reason.
That's right. I've been seeing that. And it's a cool place too, just up on the river like that.
I got this is my Caitlin Clark autographed hat, which she gave to me. So there's there's benefits out there for doing books.
That's right. So tell us about the book. What how'd you come up with it?
Well, Matt and I had done a book called Walking My Combat Boots. And Matt, just because he doesn't like to brag on himself, but Matt was the actual sergeant portrayed in the movie Black Hawk Down. So he's been through it. He's seen, serious combat and he gets people to talk. He's really good at getting them. A lot of men and women who've been in combat don't want to talk about it. But in Walking My Combat Boots, Matt did almost all the interviews. And then what we did was we take the interviews, which are maybe 40 or 50 pages, and turn them into like 6 or 7 page stories. So you would find out something about the individual and then what their story is. So and that's sort of what's going on with American Heroes as well, where I think there are 37 medal winners in here. You get a feeling for who they are, why they went into the service, and then just unbelievable stories. So Matt, you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, and I just got to pounce on the back of what Jim just said too, Ned, because I mean, Jim's writing style, and to take a 50-page interview and put it down to 5 pages, that's all true. It's all this is nonfiction. You can't monkey around with it, and to make it turn like a thriller is really pretty impressive. I mean, it's just incredible in these books, these stories, but. As Jim was just saying, this, I thought I knew something about combat, and I don't mean to beat my chest like I'm, this, that, or the other. There are plenty of people that did a lot more than I did, but, combat is so personal and it's so chaotic and it's so scary. It's every emotion that you have, zero, to redline in an instant, and we all find ourselves in these positions where you're trying to fight all your emotions, and the fear factor's high, and worrying about the person this close to you, and then realizing that, man, I'm not, whatever I'm doing isn't working.
And that sense too of it's you, and you don't want to die, and you don't want your brothers and sisters around you to die. I mean, that we versus the I thing.
And it's also immediate. It's happening right. It's happening right there, and time is, I'm sure, just distorting.
Well, Matt also mentioned the thing about it reading like the best Alice Cross or Women's Murder Club, and it does. And in fact, Jack Carr and Mark Greene, who are both very good writers, and they both said
they love the book.
Terrific quotes. Yeah. So it is very readable. A lot of nonfiction to me isn't terribly readable. This is really readable. It's because these stories are so amazing.
Yeah. No, I see it.
And just one after the other. It's there's one, and it goes from World War II all the way up to the present in terms of the stories. But one way back in Iwo Jima, and Matt, that's a flamethrower. Can you tell about that?
Oh yeah, that's an incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, about Woody, a Marine who passed just a couple of years ago, but he was a West Virginian, that kind of enlisted into the Marine Corps, wound up all across the Pacific, and goes ashore to Iwo Jima and is met immediately by the scene of Marine bodies on U.S. Marine bodies on the beach, and the Japanese bunkers that are still holding up a strong defense, and they're literally stuck. They can't move. They're all gonna die. It's all like D-Day in the Pacific. And Woody pretty much single-handedly with a 90-pound flamethrower, fights his way up and defeats the Japanese, like 8 or 9 or 10 of these Japanese bunkers by himself. I mean, it is unbelievable. If you hadn't heard the story, you wouldn't believe it. You couldn't make it up in Hollywood.
You wouldn't. Yeah, a lot of these stories you wouldn't believe them. There's another one. The helicopter was having trouble coming in to evacuate some wounded soldiers, and they really having trouble. And I don't remember the name, but one of these heroes ran out into the field, and he said, "If I can stand here, you can land here." And the helicopter came in, and they just amazing. I think he was shot up too, which is, but he lived, I believe. I'm so bad on the total, what went on, but just the bravery. It's just and the heroes. I mean, called American heroes for a reason, because I don't think we've ever needed heroes more than we do now. We really do. We need people to look up to. We need people, and also the modesty, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Modesty of this men and women.
Yeah, I mean, arguably these are the bravest, or at least on that particular day, were the bravest men and women in the world, and certainly from an American viewpoint. And you put them on such a pedestal, and you think, gosh, if I ever met those, never meet your heroes, we're told, but Ned, I'll tell you, these are the ones you should, and you do get to meet them through this book, and they're all to a person. They're so self-deprecating.
I was going to say the humility of them. I mean, it's almost like a common element in their DNA. Like you yourself, example, it's so humble about what happened out there.
Yeah. Well, because there are so many heroes, there's so many heroes out there who have never been celebrated as heroes. And we'll sit here and here's the World Series going on now, and here's Ohtani and Judge and whatever, although Judge hasn't been a hero so far, but and we hear these are heroes for us, on some level. Or here's the quarterback for Kansas City, big hero, whatever. Okay, Taylor Swift, whatever your heroes are, but these are real heroes, men and women. There's one woman here who started out as a sergeant. She talks about how difficult it is when she went through basic and they didn't really want the women to do anything, and she wound up a general. Just the stuff that she did that's an amazing story too. So many of them.
And you go out there and there aren't cameras and lights on you. It's just this moment random moment that's happening. Just to remind everybody, you can get signed books here. You go to AmericanSignedBook.com, and you can get 15% off with the code American 15. So American 15 just typed out
Yeah,
like that.
get the 15% off. What the
Yeah,
heck? You
may as well,
deserve
right?
it. Huh?
You got all the way over there. You can
100%.
get the 15%. Here's a question from Jonathan from North Carolina for Matt, which picks up a bit on before. He's thank you for your service and dedication to our country. My question for you is how you dealt with the terrors you experienced in Somalia to continue on with your life. We all struggle with what we have seen and are always looking for ways to continue to be successful and carry on.
Yeah, well, Ned, thank you for passing it along, and Jonathan, if you're watching today, thank you for your service. And I think it's the list is as long as there are people to talk about it. But I would sum it up to this. I think how I was able to deal with the trauma and moving on through the transition back is faith, family, and friends, and just at face value, faith, family, and friends. And sometimes in that order, sometimes all together, sometimes in reverse order. But those three were what helped me make it through. And I would just suggest just don't be afraid to chat with your buddy about it. Like expressing your feelings to people about sharing those stories are very important. And Jim and I heard this from a lot of the folks we've interviewed, not just with this book, but nurses and cop, Walk the Blue Line, and they would all say, "Thank you for letting me tell my story." Yeah, it helped me so much. So I think that's what I would throw out.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a big problem out there, as you know, Jonathan. It's huge. And Matt's been working with veterans since he got out, doing his job to try to help as best he can.
Yeah, well, I think this book is so important on that level too. Just the understanding that you guys are getting across the humanity. Yes, their story is boiled down to the ultimate story part of them, but just that it's so human. The read, you're in there, you're going, how could this have happened? How did this person bear up under this moment and do this? It's just inspiring. Here's one.
We follow some of these stories through, after the service is done. So in several of these, we see kind of where they went.
Yeah, you get that good coda. Yeah. Here's one from Peter in Maryland, which I can name it, both of you, one at a time, of course. Who is your personal American hero? Peter from Maryland asked that. You got any either favorites from the book or why?
Well, I'm just a clown because of the athletes. I'm still, one of the things about these two books, I said to Matt, I said after our mission with this book and with Walking My Combat Boots was that when people would get done reading, they would say that Eversmann and Patterson got it right. And then if they thought they understood about heroes and they really didn't, they say, I really didn't understand it. So my own understanding, and I still don't understand it because as I said to Matt, I've never been shot at. I've never shot at another human being, but my understanding of this is increased so much. So, and my feeling for what incredible heroes these men and women are has increased tenfold.
Yeah.
It's an impossible, Ned, in the sense of, you can't, there's no barometer on, who was braver on this particular day or whose story was even more, like, at least to me, they're all just so incredible. It's hard to pick it'd be hard to pick one as gosh, my favorite, although they all were very enjoyable to talk to. They're just, I think what I took away from it is that, courage is something we think somebody else does, and they're never afraid, and they're everything. They're portrayed just, the red cape kind of, they just go do it. And it's really quite the opposite.
Was one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, so, right? He was. Colonel Puckett, big Ranger icon. And, to hear this gentleman talk about how scared it was, in combat, from his time in Korea through Vietnam, you're like, here's this guy that's the bravest man in the world that's saying how scared he was. And I just thought, again, how humble and gracious and what a gentleman he was. And yet, as big as a mountain in the strength category. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just a reminder for everybody, if you go to americansignedbook.com, you can get a signed copy autographed by the authors here of American Heroes. Use the code American15 and you can get a 15% discount additionally.
You're turning into quite a little weasel there, Ned.
I'm good, right? I'm the publisher. I gotta make sure these stories.
But you're right. You're right.
The marketing going behind
we
these.
We want everybody to get their to get the discount.
Exactly, and we will continue to.
But it is, as I said right at the
book.
beginning, in case you missed it, I really do think that this is a book, whether even if you re-gift it to the teenagers and the kids in college and whatever, because for the most part, this is not an age for heroes. They don't see that many heroes, and duty and that kind of thing is sacrifice. Sacrifice is not a word we deal with that much anymore, but we need to.
And the examples are just so great, and I do feel the same way as you. That just at this moment right now, you're just not seeing a lot of heroism covered in the press, and these stories.
The heroism can be very small. I mean, we're not
exactly.
going to run out in battlefields right now, but there's a lot of smaller things we can do. The right things with our families. Voting, I think, that's a good thing. Brave thing for people up to a point. There's small things we can do. Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the reviews on Amazon right now. I received this book yesterday, and I read it till well past midnight. I'm in awe of the bravery and courage of the heroes. And if you enjoyed Band of Brothers or Bridge Over the River Kwai, you'll love this.
That spans
wow.
It's just. I think that hunger for these stories is obviously a big part of the reason the book is doing so well right now.
Military families also. I mean, it's such a personal thing for people in military families because you've been through it, or a husband, a wife, cousins, whatever. I mean, this book is particularly powerful, I think, for those. And they also deserve honor and credit and certainly a better deal than we're doing for most of the vets, which is unfortunate.
For sure. No, Laura Coley Law in the chat just here said she just bought two, one for her and one for her Army vet dad for a gift. So thank you, Laura.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you what, when we did Walk in My Comic Boots, one of my best friends from high school, he was in Vietnam, and he's never been a big fan of my books, but he called up and he said, "Oh my God, this thing, it's so true. It's so true to life." And what he said is he sent it out to half a dozen of people he'd served with just so that they could reminisce. Use the book to talk about something beyond but he just found it a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah, for sure. Sharon saying she loves your books.
Thank you, Sharon.
Did you run into military families on the road when you were doing the
some? Yeah. I went to I did a couple of the stops by myself. I was out in Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma, which was great. The people were great there, and then Indiana, which was another really, really big crowd. Yes, but a lot of people who had served a lot. I would say in Oklahoma, where we were, it's all small town, 700-800 people. And the local congressman is very good about getting people into West Point. So a lot of West Point vets. You wouldn't think in these small towns, but a lot of West Point vets.
Now, you said they're having the cadets read the book.
A lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them are reading it right now.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
So you'll get some good notes from there. Let's see. I think we're getting close to the end here. Let me do my stump speech here and remind everybody to go to americansignedbook.com and get 15% off with the code American15. So American and then 15.
Okay.
But thank you, gentlemen, both. This is a very powerful book. Please give it a read. Even if you just go online and get those sample chapters from jamespatterson.com, you'll get a sense. It's super powerful. Mm-hmm. It's all story, and you will see the world in a different light and a better light at that.
Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning
Ned?
in. And
Yep.
yeah, Matt, thanks once again. Ned, thank you.
James,
Thank you.
as always, it's my pleasure. Ned, thank you for hosting. This was great, and Maggie, of course, that makes it happen.
Yep. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.